Hi, folks. Yesterday I had a key opportunity to meet with a young man who lives in the Rochester area who, as it turns out, had uh, viewed some of the contents on the channel, and he has been fishing up north New York for some time and has traveled to the Messina area and started asking me questions when he realized who I was. And I realized that he perhaps could use a little bit of information that might help with his experience, particularly fishing some of the smaller tributaries like the Grass. So I described to him the baits that I tend to use, which is essentially limited to soft plastic swim baits and soft plastic frogs. Historically, I've used both a Zoom horny toad from a commercial basis and a caney toad, which I make myself in the frog category. And have used a grass pig, which is made by Berkeley, and have used swim baits again that I make myself. Um, but one of the things that's important to know is how to rig the baits, particularly to make them weedless. And so I decided to do a little demo, which follows explaining how to rig these baits for success. So, folks, this is a Zoom horny toad. I've picked this black and yellow color simply because it's one of my favorite colors for fishing muskies as well as bass. It's about 4 inches long and it can be rigged weedlessly with a number 5 worm hook. Now, with respect to the worm hook, I like to use a number 5/0 monster worm hook, which has a little bit longer shaft from the eye of the hook to the first bend, which is the part of the shaft that's actually buried in the frog. So what we're going to do is we're going to take that frog and we're going to put that point directly in the very nose of the frog, bringing it out a distance into the plastic about the same distance as that shaft length. Bring the hook down through, pulling it through to the point where, okay, now you can see the eye that you had attached the line to is still there. The hook is not set yet. One needs to, at that point, drive the point of the hook through the frog, and it requires typically bending the frog to put it through. And it goes through at approximately at the end of the slot that you can see there, coming out the back. Now, hopefully when a fish hits, the hook comes out and catches the fish's mouth. But to make it weedless, I like to pull it down tight against the back, and I like to actually stretch the frog just a little bit and bury just very slightly that hook in the back, and that makes the preparation pretty much weedless. So you can bring it through pretty heavy weeds without tangling a lot in the way of weeds. To rig a grass pig, you perform pretty much the same function with respect to the grass pig. Again, you drive the point through approximately the distance of the shaft. Again, this shaft, pulling it through until you've got it set. And then the slot on the bottom of this is a little bit longer, and so you've got to determine exactly where you want to put that, and it would appear to be approximately right there. So you drive the point through the bait, and it comes out the back. And again, to make it weedless, stretch the bait a little bit and pull it through, and basically you've got a weedless swim bait set up. The nice part about this one is, again, it's very attractive to muskies. It's also attractive to bass, and it's attractive to northern pike. So should you be in an area of all three, you've got the opportunity to catch any of the three. I make baits, and so these are two of the different size baits that I make. The one on the right is has a little bit heavier body, and it's just a tad longer, even though it's hard to tell from here. This is about 4.5 inches, whereas this is 4.7, so it's really very close. But this one's substantially heavier, as you can see, in terms of thickness. This one you would rig with again, a 5/0 extra wide gap monster worm hook, or you can use an extra wide gap worm hook if you prefer that. Again, that does, however, have a shorter shaft up there, so it's going through less plastic at the nose. This one you can probably use a 5, but I'd be tempted to probably use a 6/0 if you can find one. I make a 6-inch bait. Comparing it to the 4.7, you can see there's quite a difference in the size, so this one's a lot heavier. This one requires a much bigger hook. This one right now is rigged with a 7/0, and you might even want to look for an 8 if you can find an 8. The problem is Gamakatsu does not make an 8 in this particular style of hook, as far as I know. Owner does have an 8 of a couple of different styles, but I've had trouble finding an 8 that I like, so I typically use just the 7. For those of you that might be interested in making your own baits, this happens to be a caney toad that I make, and this one is about 4 inches long, roughly the same length. It's got sort of paddle feet on the bottom that do a pretty good job of splashing on the surface when you rig it up, and you're pretty much rigging it much the same way as you would the other baits. You go through the nose, out the bottom, approximately the distance of that shaft, and you bring the hook through the base of the frog, out the back. And this one's interesting in that the caney toad actually has a slot, so you can just pull the hook down in, and the hook is pretty much hidden. Now, I still like to bury it a little bit if I can, just to make sure. But that's pretty much a weedless rig that I would say works pretty good if you're looking to stay out of the weeds and attract muskies, bass, or pike.